Call to order the agenda work session for Thursday, February 6th. We are in the Board of Supervisors hearing room. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, the public will have physical access to the meeting room 15 minutes prior to the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion. Members of the Cochise County Board of Supervisors will attend either in person or by telephone, video, or internet conferencing. Members, the work session or time for county staff to inform and discuss agenda items with the Board of Supervisors, and public comments will not be taken. All right, we will do a roll call vote. District 1, Crosby is here. District 2,
Gomez is here.
And District 3, Antonori is here. All members are present in person. We will now do any introductions. We also have present
Sharon Gilman, Interim County Administrator.
Joe Casey, Interim Deputy County Administrator.
All right. Of course, our court clerk and assistant court clerk are here as well. So we'll start off with agenda item number 1. Ms. Gilman, if you could introduce the item to us.
Sure. So today we're going to review agenda items for the Board of Supervisors meeting, regular meeting for next week, as well as the Jail District Board of Directors meeting, and a possible, just to mention that we will have a possible executive session and a board meeting at 1. So, and that's Board of Supervisors. So we'll start off with the Jail District agenda. There's just a few items on here. One, just a routine to approve the legal counsel of Tim Lasota, just to finalize. Also, sorry, that the jail district is also hiring him for the petition to review matter. Just a little housekeeping item there.
Right.
And then number 2 is to approve the Metro Fire installation of the new fire alarm system. We'll likely go into, or we could go into executive session if the board so wishes on that agenda item, since it has to do with safety and security within the jail. But that's something you can decide that day as you deliberate.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, it's just about the fire alarm, and I mean, we're not talking about personnel. We're not talking about anything that deals with information. I mean, it's just these people haven't had a fire alarm for I don't know how many years, and it'd be nice to know how many years that has been, because that is terrifying. That given how bad this jail is, that they don't have a fire alarm. I mean, I just think I don't even think we need to go into executive session for that.
Mr. Crosby.
I don't either, but it could be a matter of proprietary contracting, in which case we might consider going.
And I get into specifics of sometimes the location within the jail where they're going to put certain things that might be an issue as well. So
I'll find out the level of detail for presentation. And
consider it at the time.
Yeah.
Well, and then we'll vote just like yesterday and make that decision. I do have a question though. So in the one meeting we did where we were approving the jail district commits, we approved that in the Board of Supervisors meeting. Should we be approving those as part of the jail district? Because we're approving expenses against the jail district.
I think I'm gonna look to our attorney, Paul Correa, to provide some direction.
Yeah, I think here's my thing. I want to keep everything very separate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't want any perception that we're blending any funds or anything like that. I want to make sure everybody, the public, the sheriff, and the board understands this money is general fund money.
Mm-hmm.
This money is jail district money.
But then following that, the same would apply for flood control and library district as well. We would need to be having separate meetings for each of those every time there's a demands, and that could get rather redundant. Just a thought.
But I mean, so
they are separate legal entities.
no,
Mm-hmm.
no offense, because you and I talked about this, right? So we have, because we have to hire legal counsel as the jail district, hire legal counsel as the Board of Supervisors. So if we have to do that with regard to legal counsel, my curiosity is like, if we're approving commits, if we get a bill that's for the jail district, we should approve that as the jail district board, not approve that as the Board of Supervisors.
Yes, absolutely. Those are separate legal
That's what
entities.
this says, jail district on this,
Yeah, but we just did,
For when we do the demand.
we did the demands and we approved demands in the Board of Supervisors meeting that were billed to the jail district. That's my point. That's all I'm saying.
And
So,
flexible.
so going forward, we should approve demands for the jail district at the jail district board
okay,
meeting when we meet as the board for the jail district.
okay. Mr. Cray,
Sure. I was going to say, I mean, frequently you guys are changing caps in one.
Right.
meeting, and you just have a different agenda that says, now we're going to meet as the Board of Equalization, for example. It's a little more paperwork.
And,
I recognize that.
yeah, I don't.
And this is a unique situation, made so not by us, okay? So there's extenuating circumstances in the case of the jail district with regard to the lawsuit and the sheriff's office, right? So we have that degree of attention that is obviously a little bit higher on this. So I want to make sure legally, somebody's not going to come back and we're not going to get bit in the rear end and get another lawsuit from somebody down the road. So that's why I want to make sure we're clearly defining the separation between the two.
I get paid to be paranoid, and I think in this case it's merited.
Should we do the same for flood control and library then?
That is my
Okay.
recommendation. Yeah.
And whether it's.
Sorry, Sharon. You didn't do that, man. I didn't mean to do that to you.
I think also when the constituents want to know what we're spending for the
Mhm.
jail tax, then they need to go to some place where they can find everything. If it's, some of it is over here and some of it is over there, then it doesn't look like we're being.
I mean, it was confusing as hell to me.
Right. And that's, as long as the board understands that's what you're going to see then is every week, potentially.
I mean, just
three.
throw it in the
3 or 4
regular
separate.
meeting as an agenda item to approve commits. And as while we're there, we'll just throw it on as an agenda item and we'll approve the commits for that 2-week period or whatever.
They'd be 4 different meetings then for demands.
I mean,
But we meet anyways.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just making sure you understand
Yeah, I mean,
the logistics of it.
So we
Yeah,
go out and in and out.
You're not
and in,
annoyed.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
I think, it does serve a purpose, especially when you're like the Board of Equalization, to know, okay, I'm changing caps now. And now I'm
We should get
reviewing
caps.
something. Yeah,
We
we
should
should
get-
get caps.
One that says jail, one that says BOS, one that says FD for flood district. We can't do if that's fire department. We'll have to do FLD. Yes, Mr. Crosby.
I believe the chair's points are well taken. And the lawsuit, the LaChance lawsuit, as I recall, is against the Board of Supervisors and the recorder.
And
In the jail
It's
district.
Jail
Yes.
district. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does it say in what capacity? Like we're in both capacities of the
Yeah.
lawsuit?
Yeah.
Well,
Or do you remember? I mean, I'm not looking at the,
I need to sound like, super legally nerdy, but
That's okay.
you're not in both capacities. That you're in the capacity as a Board of Supervisors, being who I think related to the election, how it was handled.
Off the
And
top of
also
my
the
head,
jail district.
it says LaChance et al. Versus Cochise County Board of Supervisors, Cochise County Jail District, Cochise County Recorder, and Cochise County Elections Director.
Yeah.
That's what I believe it says. Okay.
I further commented previously, the Board of Supervisors violated due process of the U.S. and Arizona constitutions in establishment of itself as the jail district board when the jail district didn't exist. Therefore, in my opinion, the jail district board didn't exist except fraudulently. That's my opinion. And then the business that is in lawsuits is 60%, and the all mail-in ballot being announced prior to such approval by the Board of Supervisors. So there's a whole problem, in my opinion, of the existence of the jail tax board to begin with, and I think that we need to look into that, and well, whether it's now or later, and the same thing goes, in my opinion, to the water district or the flood control district, if it was established the same way, and these are found to be fraudulently established.
So I would have some response to that, but I don't want to
That's fine.
give you legal opinions about that. But I do understand, I think, the gist of what you're saying.
Is there a mechanism for review, judicial review that we could seek? I mean, can we go to a judge and just say, we have these questions and we're, getting conflicting information, we need legal clarification because I think that's
a deck action, a request for declaratory judgment on any issue. You can always do that. A legal issue.
do you want to do that?
Here's my
Yes.
question.
So-
Yes, because
The agenda.
I'm sorry.
And
I guess my-
we are going like into sort of.
I got you, but
Why question?
we're talking about future agenda items here for the,
Okay.
the jail district here. So a future agenda item would be to have a discussion on getting a declaratory judgment on those issues.
That's fine, unless we can get it from the Supreme Court where the case already is. And
Well,
so
they're only going to limit us to the petition for review.
who said, and I'm not saying that's wrong.
No, that's what I understand from speaking to our attorney, that we cannot expand the question. We can reduce the question
Right.
or eliminate the question,
I
but we
understand.
cannot add, once you go in with that, that's it. That's all.
Okay. Well, we're obviously, we're gonna have to talk to our, what is it, tomorrow, when we're talking to Lesotho about
Right.
that whole matter? Okay,
Right.
that's
We
fine.
can bring it up, but from what I understand, we would have to go to the Superior Court first to ask for a review.
So these questions such as, is there a jail district, or was it void ab initio because it wasn't properly formed? That's a legal question that could be brought in deck action.
Could also, from what I understand, and I've heard conflicting information in that, to have a tax, jail, the special tax for the jail, you had to have a jail district first before you could have a jail tax. So is that the question, that it wasn't established before the tax? Let's push
Sometimes I have more stuff about that. I might have it, but that's what I'm saying.
Because that's what I like to
It said that the district obviously didn't exist prior
Hey,
to.
let's set up an agenda item.
All
Let's
right.
do that because.
Yeah, because we're starting
We're
to,
talking about new
I just-
stuff.
yeah, we're going off the rails a little bit. Yeah, so set up an agenda item for the jail district meeting of the jail district board. So we'll put that hat on and have this discussion.
Do you want it added to this coming meeting
Is that
My-
tomorrow, you mean?
on Tuesday?
On Tuesday?
Or do you want a work session separately
Oh,
I think we need a work session.
or a special meeting?
Well, we could ask Mr. Lesotho about this whole business on Friday.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
And
We can ask
and that'll tell us, should we
Well,
charge?
he's only gonna answer the question related to the case at the Supreme Court,
Right.
though. He's not gonna answer that question. The question you just raised now with regard to the timing,
No, the agenda item, what account to pay him out of, the jail district account?
what do we pay him out of?
I mean, that's the issue.
I would think we would pay him out of our supervisor's account.
We have been.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
That's where the,
Because
The
lawsuits,
primary is-
lawsuits against the county come out of the Board of Supervisor account. All lawsuits against,
That's fine.
yeah, so that's the way I see it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. So let's do that.
Okay, as long
Let's,
as it's clear, we're talking about, this is a jail district agenda item, and it's talking about how to pay Mr. Lesotho. So it sounds like.
you're hiring.
No, no,
That's
that-
not how to pay. It's.
yeah, we,
Presenting to the hiring.
yeah, we have to, because we're named in that capacity on the lawsuit, so we got to technically hire him in that capacity. We hired him in the Board of Supervisors capacity, and then we're hiring him as the jail district.
Yeah, it was just the money. And that's-
Yeah, the money will be paid out of the supervisors, just like out of the county general fund account, because all lawsuits against the county get paid out of the general.
I understand, and that suits me fine.
Okay, all right.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
next.
Next is number 3. Our jail medical director, Megan Kennedy, placed an item on the agenda for approval of a revision of rates from the state for Access Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System. She is here today if you have any questions about that. It is fairly routine matter. The state updates their rates every fiscal year, and so this is an amendment to our agreement with them.
I would be
Purchase.
perfectly happy to hear from him.
Okay.
Good. Then she came here, but
Yeah.
nice of her to call me. Doesn't matter, you can do whatever you want. Come join us here at the, you could have the power chair.
Ooh, that sounds a little too powerful for me.
So
Do you have any questions for me that I can address
tell us
immediately?
what it's all about
Okay.
and what is it for? Just,
So it's pretty much like Sharon explained. It's an agreement that was put into place in 2012. and it allows us to be charged at a significantly lower rate when inmates are hospitalized and still in our custody. It also allows for access to be able to suspend the access benefits for individuals who come into custody rather than terminate them. So whenever these individuals are released back into the community, there's not a lapse in care. Their access is reinstated almost immediately so that they are able to get resources and health resources upon their release back into the community. There's not that 30-day or 60-day pause in their benefits. It's a huge help to us. It's also saved the county hundreds of thousands of dollars annually since 2012.
I'm interested in so-called needle exchange programs. Do you have anything to tell us about needle exchange program as they apply to this grant and care between release and reintroduction to the community?
So this is not a grant, and it's not, it doesn't pertain to anything.
But we could build access.
Yeah. We wouldn't be able to, this is just so that access covers us. It's an agreement. And the only thing that this amendment is to the state fiscal rates that change annually.
So when they go out of custody and they have to, wait, they have to get on that phone call. I mean, I had to do that at one point, and it is just, it's excruciating, to have to sit there and, days and days before you can connect to somebody. So this is just automatically connected back to their benefits, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's really big.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that's that.
So that's that meeting.
All right.
Moving on to the regular Board of Supervisors meeting that will follow the jail district meeting. We have some consent agenda items. One being, or number 2 consent agenda, I want to point out to accept the letter of resignation from Kevin Byer, Constable for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, that's in Wilcox. He was elected in 2022 and has decided to resign his position. Constables in Wilcox and Benson have not shown that they've met the threshold of what the statute dictates for documents. Yeah, for pay. You have to serve at least 100 documents to be paid up to $30,000, I think, by their standard. But they have not shown that level of activity. So in the past, the board has chosen not to pay those 2 offices.
So they quit.
Well, they if their activity increases, then they would.
So is this a problem with regard to not enough business for them? Or is this a problem because they're just not doing they're delivering the?
I don't have a good answer for that.
It's a
something we can bring in.
Question, right?
Yeah, when we have, we do include the constables in our budget process, in our budget work sessions. So Melissa Worthland from JP5, she submits a log. She has a lot of activity, so she is paid a higher salary. And then Constable Drummond from Benson, he could come in as well and make his case.
So do the constable districts match the Board of Supervisors districts in demographics?
No, JP.
They match the JP districts.
And there's 5 plus 1?
There's 6 JP.
Okay, then it's 5 plus 1. Well, anyway, I wasn't sure. I knew the districts were different.
Yeah. Please respect.
So right now, technically, we have 1 constable.
No, we have Benson as well.
I'm Benson too, so we have 2 constables.
So you
Oh, yeah.
mean he's been working since 22 and not been paid?
It's the
Got to
statute's
fill the
related.
paperwork out in order to
Yeah, there's
justify payment.
paperwork that's,
And is it, and like you said, I guess we don't know if it's that he just doesn't have enough work or
right,
that he just didn't fill out the paperwork.
So they got to do summonses, they got to do evictions, they got to do other court duties affiliated with that they have to annotate and then turn in to get payment. So if they're not doing that and turn it in, they don't get paid.
That seems
So-
like, why would you not do your homework? That's what I tell my son.
Explain
Why
it.
don't you do your homework? Turn it in.
Yeah, we don't know.
But
the
the,
situation.
but the consent item is just to accept his resignation, and
Right.
then we can,
Okay.
And then we got to do
we
a
don't know if
replacement.
we can post it and see, you know, if we
We
receive
need
any.
to find a, Wilcox cop that's looking for extra work.
I mean, is it something like there's not enough, and maybe you need to not make, maybe join the districts? Or would that be too much? I mean, I guess that's some kind of analysis.
Yeah,
well,
there is,
obviously
there is a lot
Sierra
of
Vista,
statute. Yeah.
the constable in Sierra Vista is pretty busy probably
Right,
because Sierra
right.
Vista is a big, well, comparable to other cities in the county. It's a big city.
Right.
So the business is probably better for a constable in Sierra Vista, whereas in Wilcox and Benson, maybe not so much. Maybe there is an issue there where there's not enough work for the constables.
And in his letter, he does state that he's left some items in his office. I want to assure the board those items have been retrieved. And so when you see the letter,
He's out.
don't be concerned.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, we'll have to talk about that then. And, maybe it's not.
Maybe that's one not consent. I can move it to action. if you prefer.
I mean, we got to accept his letter of resignation, but I'm saying how to remedy the issue.
Right.
We need to talk about it in like a work session
Okay.
or something and say, okay, somebody needs to come in from the court and tell us what the
I
hell.
need this guy or not.
Yeah, what the hell's going
Well, constables are in education because they're treated very differently in statute, so it warrants a work session.
Yeah, we need to do that. Because that's,
Okay. And then just accepting county recorder's resignation, just formally.
right?
Some other routine agenda items on the consent.
And we got our first PC appointments coming up.
I mean, that is a question. They don't tell you the name or like where they're coming from. Is there a reason? Not that, I mean, I guess I.
You mean for
know.
PCs?
Yeah. Is there just a reason they just want to be in?
I leave that up to mostly the county chairs to,
Just to say who and
I
what.
think those names are on agenda clip, as I recall.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's an attachment, the full nomination form.
But that's the county chair's job to vet the applicants. Oh, you want to have?
Oh, not you, you mean the party chair.
I'm sorry, the party chair. Yes, the chair of the political parties
Okay.
of the county.
We'll insert the name into the motion, into the agenda
Yeah.
item, just.
How many are there?
It's just one.
Oh, just one?
So we'll just
Oh, okay.
list their
All
name
right.
for clarity.
All right. Finance.
Okay, and then, yeah, just your standard budget amendments that the list of demands and budget amendments will be attached tomorrow, usually before noon.
Okay, I haven't looked at this one and to compare prior to the end of the year where there was a difference in the column on the right side to see if it was.
Oh, you mean the fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
where
got
it
that.
Used to be.
Yeah, when we receive it, we're checking it.
So does it look the same as it did prior to the end of the year?
It looks the same as it
Yeah, it's
always
right here.
prior to,
Okay.
in your experience last year, all of last year.
So you,
For now.
you're having another second eyes or something like that to look over it,
Yeah, right,
which is what we discussed last time.
right. We're all looking at it. Then we have the action items. So we have an over-the-counter sales of tax deed properties. So the clerk has had a request for a bid for one of those over-the-counter properties. She can give you information on that.
Just one?
Just one so far. We'll bring them to you as we get them.
An over the counter, I'm sorry to ask this, what does that mean?
So that's after the auction of tax deeded properties, there's what remains from that list.
Okay.
And people can come to our window here at the Board of Supervisors office and place a bid. We then bring that to you for approval.
Okay.
No?
Over the
Just
counter,
general
over the counter. Oh,
I see her on, I see Ms. Trawick for agenda item number 8, but of course.
No,
if you have
I
something-
just love to come and talk to you guys anyway. No, they're completely different. The ones over the counter that you guys are accepting bids on are ones that have been deeded to the state. They're over 10 years old in back taxes, and after we've basically cleared the title, they're deeded to the state. You guys are the holding people to actually offer them for sale for whatever you can get to put them back on the tax rolls, and that was something that we had discussed.
Yeah,
earlier.
I'm very, very in favor of that.
Yeah, the tax lien sale, which is starting next Tuesday, is actually where someone buys the lien on a property, pays the taxes and a certificate fee, and then after 3 years, they can move to foreclose on that lien, and then they would own the property through that
And start
value.
assuming the taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you briefed us on number 8, or would you care to hear?
You
from
want
us?
me to?
Yeah,
do
while
it
she's
now?
up here, might as well do it while you're warmed up.
Is that all?
I know, you guys love this part. Mr. Crosby's experienced these joys before. These are actually abated taxes, which is another different category for you, Chair Antonori. These are properties that are mostly personal property or business property, equipment that is either not able to be located,
Personal business property tax stuff, is that what it is?
it's personal property and business property. They're two separate kinds
Okay.
of personal property. Personal property can include mobile homes. Personal business property can be like distilling vats for a brewery or Apple Annie's. They had an issue several years back with their conveyor line. They weren't paying tax on that business property, or it actually wandered away somehow. And so we can't collect on something we can't find. And with a lot of the personal property, the things like mobile homes, what happens is they get destroyed, or believe it or not, they wander off.
Yeah.
And so somehow they are no longer available to be taxed. So even though they're still showing on our tax rolls, that's what this particular process is for, is to remove it from the tax rolls, so that when special districts or school districts start establishing their budgets and what they're going to be
It takes
levying
it out of
on,
the calculation.
it does. And so that you guys have to see why I'm saying we're not going to ever collect taxes on this. So I present that to you with the information that the sheriff's office has gathered, so that you know that I'm not just saying
Right.
my cousin doesn't have to pay taxes on their mobile home.
This is a residual of pre-territorial statehood days, and it was when they couldn't do property taxes back in the day, so they used to have a guy drive around and count how much stuff people owned and give them a tax on it. And the state has never taken this off the books. It is the worst tax you can imagine, because it penalizes people for investing in their companies or investing.
Right.
I mean, I had a constituent that went out, he won a big contract. So he went out and bought all brand new pickup trucks for his guys, and then he got hit with the personal business property tax on the valuation of all those trucks, and it just crushed him. It just crushed him. But it's an old thing back in the day, because they didn't have assessors that went out and measured everybody's stuff. So they had a guy ride around on a horse and said, all right, you got 18 head of cattle, you got a tractor, all right, here's your tax. That's how they collected the taxes.
It is still a very viable thing.
Oh, yeah,
though.
it is.
I mean, it is
We make
very
a lot of
important,
money.
especially when you start looking at things like, what are those? Wind turbines. Those are not real property. Those are personal property that belong to a corporation.
Is an example of personal tax, right? So you pay a vehicle license tax. Now, a lot of states don't charge you, they just charge you a registration fee. But
Right.
we have, a vehicle license tax. It's a personal property tax. It goes back to, you got a car, you got a truck, you got a tractor, you're going to pay the taxes on every year. Every year. You pay
And
it.
that's the state. That
That's the
has
state. That's the
nothing
state,
to
yes.
do with me.
No. That's
Although
that's-
I will tell you though,
We tried to get rid of
on
it like
mobile
3
homes, why they are considered personal property is they are not considered a home that
Right.
is affixed
Right.
like
unless they
lease.
actually request it, because it is mobile. It can be moved away. So that's why it's considered personal property rather than real property.
Yep. Just like RVs, same thing, they get taxed.
Well,
Every
RVs,
year.
no, RVs go under a different one.
I got
Those,
but
those are
I'm
more
just-
under
it's the same-
VLT. They're
it's
not
same
under the
concept
personals
back
that
from
come back.
1910 or whatever, that they came up with this idea. So it's still ingrained in our tax system, Mr. Crosby.
Mr. Chairman, I remember that you talked about a return on investment the other day, and the point was well taken. And so I'd like to point out that both Ms. Trawick and Mr. Leindecker's office are the ones that are providing the return on investment in their department.
Absolutely.
And even though we want low taxes, we want to make sure that people pay what they're due, like all the rest of honest systems.
And it's fair to those that are paying their taxes, again, to broaden that tax base. So if we could help her and Mr. Leindecker help us to get more properties that are in arrears off of the
Yeah.
back tax roll and onto the tax roll, that helps all Cochise County taxpayers because it spreads the cost.
It does.
Exactly.
And I very much appreciate what you said, Mr. Crosby, because that has been my personal mantra. It's like no one should pay any more tax than they are responsible for, but everyone should pay their fair share.
Correct.
And so it is really important that you keep an eye on the big picture.
And we need help from the clerk of the court too, because I've gotten complaints of guys that have bought tax liens and then have tried to foreclose. And what they do is it's profitable if you take these small 1 acre lots and they buy the tax lien on several of them. They're close together and then they go to combine them and then they have to file individual cases.
That's because of statute.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with their policy.
Well, before they didn't have to do that. Now the clerk of
Well,
the court has been charging them. So I don't know
no,
if that was
they
the
do.
change.
They've always had to because each certificate is considered a separate
They
document.
were
It
allowed
is
to
a-
combine them and do the
You're
document.
not
all
allowed
once
to
for-
combine them until after you own them.
I'm sorry. Let me be clear. Maybe I misspoke. When they used to go in to do the foreclosures, they used to file one court fee and bring all 5 in and foreclose on the 5 under the one court fee. And now they're having to file $200, $200, $200, $200 to file on each individual one. But that's not you.
Well, and it depends because if all of the taxpayers, if all, say, 10 parcels were owned by the same person, then that foreclosure can be combined for the same person that owns all 10 certificates. But if there's 8 different owners, even though they're adjacent to each other, but one certificate holder, then you would have to file all 8 of those.
I'll call him back because he called me
I know.
screaming in my
I
ear.
probably know
I
who called you.
foreclosed on 8 properties last year and I only had to pay 1. I just went into the clerk's office and she's making me pay for like 6 different ones.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the case. Maybe he foreclosed the first time and it was all the same property owner.
It's entirely possible
right.
because some areas are that way, but
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So I will call him back.
not that I'm trying to jump on your stuff. It's just,
Mark Spencer called me crying about that.
okay. Yep, I did know who you talked about.
All right, got education today.
All right. Did you have any more questions about this process, though? I will tell you that when you get the packet or that will require your signature, Mr. Antonori, there are pictures of where several of these were a former mobile home park, and there are no mobile homes on it anymore. So you'll have pictures of the vacant land. There's some that are just totally derelict, and sometimes it's really heart-wrenching to see that people had actually lived in this at some point. But yeah.
And I don't know how bad it is in Cochise County, but I remember in Pinal County, mobile home theft is like an art in Pinal County. And people literally come home and everything's cut and their trailer's gone, where there are people that literally steal the whole mobile home.
We don't have too big a problem with that. What we have a bigger issue with is people coming and gutting them, taking the copper pipes out and water heaters and things like that, but not usually occupied ones. And unfortunately, when you see some of these pictures, you'll wish someone had stolen them
Yeah.
because they're sitting on someone's property. it doesn't necessarily mean that the person that owns the real property is the one responsible for that mobile home being sitting on there. So. It's pretty
All
good.
right. Thank you,
My pleasure.
Madam Treasurer. All right, so.
Go back to number 7.
Seven.
Chair Antonori, you requested staff to write a resolution. It's in draft form.
I got
in
it.
your hands,
I got
so
it. I got to get it.
I'm not
So,
sure if we'll have it for tomorrow. Or
Yeah, we may have to table it, but,
Okay.
I'm going to try to get to that today. So that's just, like I said, just telling
Right.
the legislature we support getting that
Which is
added to
absolutely needed.
fix the election issue. It was just Sharon overachieved. Dramatic, because she did extra phenomenal job. I mean, I was just going to try to trim it down a little bit, but she did a great job. Anyways, all right.
And then number 9, Development Services Department submitted a grant application for Community Foundation for Southern Arizona for housing repairs. Susan Bronson will present on that, and she is here today as well. If you have questions about the grant, she can tell you more at this time. You haven't seen it yet because you haven't seen the attachments, but the county in the past has a home repair program and different grants. So this is just one through Southern Arizona. Or community.
So where do they get their money from? So where does the Community Foundation of Southern Arizona get their money from?
This grant is funded by EPA,
By who? I'm sorry.
Environmental Protection Agency. So it is coming from the federal government through the Community Foundation.
Okay. Those 3 letters scare the living bejesus out of me.
EPA.
Yeah, because they love tacking lots of stupid stuff on a lot of their grants.
Gotta read it.
Gotta read it. Okay. But are you aware of any lowdown terms and conditions that come with this grant from them, from the EPA?
We're receiving our information from the Community Foundation. That's who put out the advertisement for the grant.
Okay.
And we haven't been awarded. We haven't applied yet, of course. So we don't know the specific terms. They do have, some stiff criteria to meet. We believe that we can meet all of the criteria because of our existing program. We're already jumping through those hoops. It doesn't seem from the material that we can access that it would be any more difficult than meeting the requirements of Arizona Department of Housing.
What are you going to do with the money?
Well, we do housing repairs for our low to moderate income residents within Cochise County. We do things like hot water heaters, heat pumps, roofs. We have veterans who don't have hot water. We have a veteran who pre-applied for a previous grant. We're waiting to receive notice whether we will receive it, but he's disabled. He doesn't have heat. He's going around in his house with a hat and a coat. We have people in great need who have terrible conditions in their houses.
And to be clear, the county's not doing the work. We're paying.
A contractor, yeah, but I'll give you an example. If this came through, which it likely did, the previous administration, and they have their natural gas stove and water heater issues, and they say, oh, you can't put a gas or water heater in, you have to put electric in, that's what I'm getting at. There's conditions like that that come in some of these grants. So, Mr. Crosby.
Yeah, I would suggest look at the grant that is presented, and sometime.
Do we have a copy of the lowdowns from them that have any possible restrictions? Could we get that? Or is that loaded in the?
Are you asking just general information that's coming from the foundation regarding the
What you're
requirements?
getting from the Community Foundation, what would essentially be the terms of receipt of the bond? What are the terms? Do you have a copy of that you can get us?
We do not have access to that information.
Because this would just be an approval to submit, so it's not the actual.
Well, what are we submitting for? That's the thing, Mr. Crosby.
Yeah, sometimes in whatever is produced at the state level, they'll have the federal regulations. You have to do this. There could be a zillion of them, and they'll have the federal regulations in parentheses in the body of the application.
Based upon the information we're receiving from the Community Foundation, this one actually seems easier to comply with than our Arizona
Well, that's what I'm
Department of
asking.
Housing.
The information you're getting from them, is there someone that is providing that tells you the conditions of this grant are as follows? If you receive this money, you are to do this with the money, and you're not allowed to do these other things with the money. You can only use it for this, this, and this. Do you have that?
We don't have that level of specificity. What we do have is criteria that we would need to meet. So we do have to ensure that it's a disadvantaged community, which the majority of the areas we're providing these services in are disadvantaged. So that would include Bowie, San Simon, Douglas, parts of Huachuca City, parts of Wilcox, which are areas that we really need to serve. The reason why we were particularly interested in this grant is because the majority of our funding has come through CDBG for these housing repairs. CDBG doesn't allow us to work within the city limits of Sierra Vista or the city limits of Douglas, and that's because they also receive CDBG funding, and so it would be a duplication of the funding, and they want to make it fair, spread it around. But that leaves a huge gap. We have people who apply. We have a woman who applied from Douglas that we can't currently serve, who she's in her 70s. She doesn't have any heating or cooling. She tries to chop wood to provide something for her to burn to stay warm. We have people in desperate need.
I got you.
Yeah. And so this would fill that gap. This one would allow.
EPA's doing housing improvement.
Well, they're not specifically, but in this grant, they gave a range of projects that they would fund. And we saw this little opening. They will fund healthy homes and energy water efficient homes. So that fits well within our housing repair program, because healthy homes, that's basically indoor air quality, which is, fixing a leaky roof because you're preventing moisture, which can cause
So
mold.
You're just asking for our permission to submit for the grant.
To apply
And then
for
when
it.
you get answers back, you're going to come back to us to approve it
Yes.
or spend it.
Is
And
it-
that will include, when you get it back, you will get the conditions with it when it comes back.
We would receive a contract, which would be reviewed by the county attorney's
Yeah,
office.
so I'd be interested to see that.
Well, you will, Ken.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with a lot of what I would call boilerplate, with all of them are the same. And you might have stuff that says you got to comply with immigration stuff, like E-Verify is big ones on everything that comes through. You got to comply with E-Verify, for instance. It might have archaeological stuff in it. If it was EPA, I wouldn't be surprised. It could be any number of things, but in a lot of these grants, it's the same stuff over and over again, and there's 17 pages of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So I'd like to maybe just,
Yeah, Chair, when we review it, we'll look for those sorts of things so we can flag them and bring that to y'all, to your attention. I've also.
I understand that the appropriation as it flows down is for a specific purpose, but what happens is as it goes through the various agencies, they love to tack on other conditions of the grant. That's all I was getting at. So I didn't know what the final terms and conditions were that come down. As long as it's not something onerous and stupid, if we're helping people get water heaters, so that's fine. I get that. But,
Right. We also have right now some heightened sensitivity and scrutiny directed at anything that relates to the executive orders and the funding freeze that was then unfrozen. We want to get out ahead of that and be aware.
Yeah.
If
I sent Sharon the list and Joe the list yesterday. It's a lot.
It's everything.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. So,
We're trying to bomb-proof our county.
Yeah. I just accidentally came across that, and I in my Googling perusals in the evening when I'm sitting there looking at the nightmares coming down the road. So I came across, and you can forward it to them probably, right? I didn't want to send it to them because of the rules,
Right.
but it's like 18 pages or something. No, it was 80 pages.
Yeah, it's pretty much every federal grant.
80 pages of every single federal grant that the president paused and put the brakes on. It's billions of dollars for it's stuff I'm reading through there. I couldn't imagine all the stuff that's been braked for 90 days. It's a 90-day freeze of all these grants. No one is allowed to expend against these grants. So there's a 80 something page, and there's like 25, 30 per page.
Well, I know, I think Douglas gets a lot of grant, a lot of
Right.
federal money, and so they've been screaming, but, you got to do
And it's
it.
broken out by agriculture, education. I mean, it's broken out, so you can see that. So it's a pretty extensive list.
A lot of grants aimed at rural counties. But that's been like subject to an injunction is the status.
Yeah, it's paused until Monday, right? Monday is when they're having the hearing on
And
it.
they're going to have a hearing that I
Yeah,
think it'll stay.
And then-
permanently enjoined.
so it'll be interesting to see.
That would be kind of nice to see it, just.
It'll freak you out.
And-
It freaked me out looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, it freaked me out from a taxpayer's perspective. I'm like, oh my God, look at all this stuff that we're funding with all this stuff. That's why I think they're putting the kibosh on it, because some of it's good though. And that's the problem. The problem is you have nuggets in there buried in with all this garbage that are actually good things, but most of it's not. Trying to add a comment?
No, I mean, that's so, if like 90% of it is bad and 10% of it is good, and you vote against the 90%, and say, Antonori voted against the 10% that was good.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But if you look at it, you'll see but yeah, the impact to us is significant, because I could see several of those that come through the state and then flow down to the counties. So, and a lot of them are in the healthcare
Yeah.
department too. There's a lot of health grants, funding grants in there that come through us. So that will probably affect some of the stuff we do here. So
That's why we need
the
it.
new world,
Development.
things changed in November. I don't have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to talking about it, but we'll see what comes back. All right.
All right. And the last item is just state and federal legislation discussion from yourself.
So,
Chair,
Start talking.
yeah, well, I'm going to bring you guys up to speed on stuff. I got a meeting tomorrow with the CSA guys to go over. There are about a half a dozen hostile to county bills that are moving through the legislature that we need to be aware of. But one of the most significant one is the Rural Groundwater Control Act bill.
Right.
88 pages, a lot of stuff in there. That bill takes away our authority to plan and zone.
Who is sponsoring that?
Priya, I can't remember her last name. She's a state senator from Tucson, is the sponsor of that bill. So there are 4 other bills in the legislature that have been introduced by, she's a Democrat senator. And then there's 4 bills.
She's a minority whip, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got other bills that are pieces of what's in this. So the governor's bill is kind of like an omnibus water control. It takes over water in the entire state.
Let it happen. Got
100% takeover by the state government of all water in the state of Arizona. So, and it also takes over all the counties that if we want to, like we had the meeting with changing from SR
Yeah.
71 to RU4, we can't do that without permission from this board,
Oh,
this
wow.
five-member board. If we are going to allow residential construction or industrial construction or commercial construction, before we issue the zoning change or before we issue any permits, we have to go to this board to get permission to do that. So that's in the,
Somebody.
and they claim in there they're going to appoint local people to this board.
Oh,
but-
gosh.
Don't trust them.
It's appointed by the governor.
Local people will never sell out,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So it's a it's the governor, the majority and minority leader in the House and Senate. So there's 5 of them on there. So, just so you know. But it's likely not going to get a hearing. Steve Montenegro, the speaker, already said it will not see the light of day in the House. So the governor had a meeting Tuesday, and she's meeting with the stakeholders, and they're going to try to combine the 4 Republican bills and create a compromise bill that they can.
Leave us alone. That's a couple.
She's
Yeah.
coming to Sierra Vista, I think, on.
Yeah, I'm going to go talk to her about it. Ask her why she's declaring war on Cochise County.
So if I plan to go to that, do we need to post it? Okay.
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah,
you
you
can go.
invite, it's part of that Sky Island thing, right?
I mean, we could good cop, bad copper, or bad cop, bad copper, depending on what you want to.
Too bad or too bad, whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, Laura will make sure you have a ticket. And
Yeah, so again, it's just the point of it is, it's a takeover. It's,
No, it is.
it is.
Especially if they have the ability to point local people, what are we doing? What is our job then? If they're going to take all that, I mean.
Yeah.
And then we're planning and zoning, what happens to them?
Well, they're still there. It's just that before we do the planning and zoning change, we have to go to them to get the approval that there's water and it's meeting the 100-year requirement. It's not in an area that has restrictions or impediments, or there's so many per area that are going to be allowed, and we're not allowed to exceed that area. If you read the bill, I read the summary that's posted on the legislative, and just that scared me. And as a former legislator, I could tell you that staff tends to miss some of the finer points when they write those summaries. So there's something.
They omit the truth. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, there's
omit the truth.
There's stuff buried in there, and I know Senator Dunn and Representative Griffin are going through that entire 88-page bill line by line right now and highlighting stuff. So we'll get more details from them when they get a chance to finish reading. But just the summary is scary.
It will be a water grab. It will never end.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got to fight them, and watch out for whenever.
Mr. Crane will get some exercise because then we'll be filing lawsuits.
Whenever they want to start a new geographical district crossing existing political jurisdictional lines, watch out, because you've just expanded government, and then it's neither nor. And well, that's Graham County. No, let's go Cochise County. That's what they were trying to do up there. They're trying to make some water basin. I don't care if the water basin crosses a county line or not. If Graham does their thing, we do our thing. You don't appoint a bunch of local people that could never become corrupt or never sell out, right?
And then another one that you guys may not be aware of is T.J. Shoup. Senator Shoup is running a bill that limits rural ambulance coverage, which is very bad.
Yeah.
So he has, I guess, from what I understand, an ambulance company in Pinal County. So we've run into this before. I remember dealing with this. What we did is we created certificates of use requirements for various ambulance and fire departments. And that required areas to be defined, like a franchise area, right? And you say, you're allowed to have this area, but you also have to include this. So what that prevented was an ambulance company from saying, I'm just going to do Sierra Vista because that's where the money's at. And I'm not going to do Hereford, or I'm not going to do anywhere else because I lose money when I go out there. So when they get their certificate of use, a lot of these, like for example, the guys in Benson, they have to do Benson, but they also have to do all the areas surrounding Benson as well. So what TJ's bill does is it takes that away. Evidently, there's a company in Pinal County that wants to grab, I guess, Chandler and only Chandler, and there's a rural metro ambulance that covers that and everything else, and they want to like carve out Chandler and leave this rural metro guy to just what's the crumbs. And that will hurt us significantly because we have like 3, I think, in Cochise County, three or 4 private ambulance companies that the city's contracted with. But they also cover where I live, for example. Yes, Mr. Crosby.
You also got to watch out for governments that want to do so-called enterprise fees, which that would fall into the category of an enterprise fee, or enterprise, whatever it is. They call it anyway. The government's making money on ambulance service, and they're pushing the private guys out.
Yeah.
That's not what we want for free market.
Right. Well, these guys, our guys are all private
I understand.
right now, right? And they contract with entities, hospitals and cities and whatnot to provide various services in those areas. But with TJ's bill is there, I guess another private company is trying to cherry pick. And so he's modifying that certificate of use provision that says if you want a certificate to operate your ambulance in this area, you have to provide coverage to this area. That's good. But I'll give you more details on.
Yeah, because I think that affects the Douglas Fire Department from being able, I was seeing something.
If it's municipal, it's exempt. See, that's what Tom was getting at. So if they have their own fire department that's funded by tax dollars, they're allowed to draw their lineup. But if you have a private ambulance that wants to come in and take calls in a certain area, they get a certificate of use from the state, and that includes areas that are underserved, so that they don't cherry pick and deprive other people of access. That's all. But I'll get a better explanation for you, and we could talk just to make you aware. Those are the two that I'm aware. But I'll hear more tomorrow from Mr. Borelli, who is going to educate. Yeah, but this is the CSA legislation thing.
That's at 8:30 morning.
Yeah, and he's gonna tell me about all the evil stuff that my former buddies in the legislature are up to, and our current buddies in the legislature are up to. So we'll get that. But that's all I had on that. All right.
The meeting.
Is that it? Any other comments before we adjourn?
Nope.
Mr. Crosby? Ms. Gomez?
Not at all.
It's
Just
been-
one more note that there's a meeting then at 1 o'clock on the 11th for the executive orders. That's with the sheriff's office to discuss the executive orders as they relate to sheriff's office operation. That's on Tuesday.
Yeah. So the next meeting will be today at 1 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors hearing room. It's a work session to discuss the election department and the information update.
So that's like kind of going over what happened in the past and what we're looking at
Correct.
to improve it,
That
right?
includes like the voting machine thing, getting a new machine, and then we got to talk about our elections director.
Yes.
Okay, and
Making them
for the next, for the
We
next
could discuss that.
meeting, I would like to have some invocation.
Oh, the one at 1?
No.
The regular meeting?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so,
Do you want that to be on the agenda or just like you said?
sure.
Now, I know I think it'd be great to do this at every meeting, but then we have to, who's saying it? Are we bringing it? Okay.
Yeah, so you can pick Spanish or English.
Have you translated? Oh, you did?
All right, so any other questions? We'll talk more about it if you guys want.
About this?
Pick Spanish or English.
Oh, you're talking about the invocation?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll
Was
just,
you ever going to have somebody come and do it for you?
No,
Okay. Why is that?
because I don't want it.
And what you say is that it?
so in the
If you
legislature,
don't want it that way, you can vote different.
for example, in the legislature, each member would rotate. We would
Say it themselves.
say it themselves, right. And well, they also had the opportunity to bring in like their pastor to give it too. I mean, but each member starting in the first corner would go member by member until the whole room did.
At one time?
No.
Oh,
So
individually.
every day when they opened the session, they would do the prayer
Okay.
or / invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. And so each member, there would be a day where today is your day to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gotcha.
And then today is this guy's day to do the prayer. Now you could contract that out if you want. You can stand up and you could give the prayer invocation for the day, or you can bring in a pastor or someone, that can give the prayer on your behalf. But you were responsible for making sure somebody read a prayer that day.
Okay. And then you get to.
So maybe we could discuss that
Yeah.
and then have a day where we each take turns. And we could either say the prayer or bring in a contract prayer. You want to do that? Put it on a work session.
Well, we do have at the end of the month. I think we have a meeting procedures kind of work session to go.
Oh, yeah, put it in
So
there.
we'll put it,
Yeah,
we'll
put it in
add
there.
discussion to that.
But we can do this for the one on Tuesday. We'll let you do that. That's not a problem. I mean, we can adopt the model like the legislature has. There's nothing wrong with that. Sure,
I have a
Madam Clerk.
question for Ms. Lowen. Do you know how many outstanding work session requests that I have that Mr. Antonoria has not seen?
Oh,
Sir, I just
At
get,
least two. One of them, we're talking about parliamentary procedures was one of them.
that is scheduled.
Okay. And so if that's coming up, is there another one?
That's correct. I just scheduled it this morning.
Okay, so there's a parliamentary procedures one, right?
Correct.
And is there another one or not?
There is for the county administrator and deputy county administrator job
Oh, okay.
description. And I just scheduled that this
That's
morning
fine. I'll keep them coming.
for the 25th.
I just wondered what Mr. Antonori had seen.
I saw the parliamentary procedure one. We're getting books on that one too, I heard.
That could be. The reason why I asked Ms. Lowenheim was because I would like my colleagues to have a certain amount of lead time to look at what I have written prior to a meeting so they'll know what I wrote.
Okay.
Like, basically, it's what's in your email. No, I emailed Ms.
Okay,
Lowenheim a bunch of stuff in addition to the work session request. Okay,
so I just tell you when I should be doing this in the emails. Is that what
I'm sorry.
When I talk to you about work sessions, I should be putting it in a format.
I
We
hate
we
emails.
accommodate how we get the information.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? Okay. I just didn't know if I was missing that.
It does help keep us organized, but
Because I
We see
can't,
you
if that's
right
what you prefer, I can do that.
we're okay.
Okay.
Recycles.
All right. I understand.
Thank you.
Are we adjourned?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're adjourned.